for not feeding the self-pity. In truth, she knew she wasn't so bad for an old lady of 61. Her face was narrow, accentuating green eyes and dark, not quite thick lips. The lines there were more from the sun than her age. Her hair was white, but softly so, cropped short and brushed straight back over her ears. Practical, but still lovely. And her slender figure was such that, even after all these years, she was still able to turn more than a few heads whenever she drove into the city or up to Santa Fe. It was good for her ego. Oh, brother, she thought, it's worse than I thought. What it was one of those days that crept up on her now and then, when she missed Bert so much it burned. There was never any particular reason for it, no specific thing that jogged her memory. It just happened. Like today. And the only cure was to take Diamond and a canteen and ride into the desert. Maybe, if she were brave enough, all the way to the mesa. Sure, she thought, and tomorrow I'll wake up and find Bert beside me in bed. A snort behind her made her jump. She whirled just as Diamond thrust his head over the rail, his nose catching her stomach and shoving her back a step. "Hey!" she said with a scolding laugh. "Knock it off, you big jerk!" He was already in bridle and saddle, a short black horse with a rough diamond blaze between his eyes. Nando was standing beside him, grinning, one hand on the animal's rump, his stained brown hat pushed back on his head. "Serves you right," he told her smugly. He could have been Sylvia's twin, not her husband, save for the ragged streaks of gray in his hair and the fact that his broad, blunt nose had been broken too many times for him to be rightly called handsome. Those who didn't know him figured him for an ex-boxer or an ex-marine, not the foreman of a ranch that wasn't much of a ranch anymore. Annie made a show of ignoring him and his rebuke. She adjusted her straw western hat, fixed the strap under her chin, and swung her legs easily over the rail. Without pause or hesitation, she grabbed the horn and swung lightly into the saddle. Only then did she look down at him. "Not bad for an old lady, huh?" "The day you get old, Signora," he answered solemnly, "is the day I stop shoveling horse shit for a living and start selling bad turquoise to the tourists up in Santa Fe." Diamond shook his mane impatiently. A warm gust made them turn their heads, but not before she saw the expression on his face. When he looked back, he was somber. "It talks." "I wouldn't know." He shook his head slowly, not quite sadly. "You know. You always know." She grabbed the reins angrily. "I know nothing of the sort, Nando." She was prepared to cluck Diamond away when Nando tapped her leg. "Now what?" He reached behind him and pulled out a canteen. Grinning again, "No rain, no water." He tucked it into the silver-studded saddlebag. She thanked him with a brusque nod and guided Diamond across the side lawn to a break in the double split-rail fence she had painted white the year before. Once through, she followed it around to the front, checking the grass inside to see where it was dying. Everywhere, she realized. Everywhere. Despite the extraordinarily expensive, undoubtedly wasteful below-ground system her late husband had installed himself and had connected to one of the score of deep wells on the ranch, the grass seldom survived intact all the way through the summer. Still, she thought as the ranch drifted away behind her, wasteful or not, it was better than nothing. At least it had color. At least it had life. "All right," she snapped to the shadow that rode beside her. "All right, that's enough, Annie. That's enough." Her right hand held the reins lightly. Her left hand rested on her thigh, and it trembled. She ignored it, concentrating instead on the rolling land ahead, automatically checking for wind or flash flood damage to the narrow wood bridges Bert and Nando had built across the several arroyos meandering across the 4,000 acres.